All right, ladies and gentlemen, listen to this. All right, your mother's on a half-eaten animal cracker. Welcome to Masculine Geek number 186, the Fireside Chats. We're taking a break from Dungeons and Dragons this week, and we're just going to talk a little bit with Mr. Nick August. He's in the top right-hand corner of your screen, and he's going to be talking just a little bit about his latest refresh of his online magazine, Punch Riot. So welcome, Mr. Nick August.
Hi.
All right, we're done. Is this thing on?
Is this thing on?
It is on, like your mom. I know.
Better than my grandma.
That's true. Everything's better than your grandmother, that's for sure.
Yeah, she stripped for sailors.
And then some.
None of y'all would last with my grandma, so you'd have to default to the mom.
That would probably, I would agree.
I have a picture. I have a picture of his grandmother.
that looks like her.
The picture of whose grandmother? Nick's?
Yeah. What's funny is like it's a book about the people who lived in the Shenandoah Park, and before it became a park, and they were all forced to leave. And so somebody wrote a book, kind of interviewing all the different people. But I loved how the cover has some old lady in a rocking chair with a pipe in her mouth. It reminds me of the gal from Josie Wales, you know?
Oh, yeah.
Me again, Josie Wales.
I was just watching that the other night.
Yeah, there's some crazy, and these people are not making this stuff up. This is actual sociology type stuff where they're just saying it because it is. There's some pretty crazy facts in here about life. And this was in the 1900s. So, anyways, not to get too off topic. But
you're already off topic, but go ahead.
I tangent the way Cappy naps.
That's right.
For way too long.
Yeah.
What's going on, gentlemen?
Is that it?
Yeah, I thought you were going to tell us more about the book.
Yeah. Sure, I can talk about the book. The craziest one was the facts. There were some of these people who they had no technology to speak of, and they pretty much just had no interaction with people outside of the area that they lived in. So they had no.
They're kind of like the Amish.
They're kind of like the Amish, except it was a combination of technology. They just didn't have it. What's so funny?
It's okay. TJ's going to be brief. Don't worry.
He'll be. I can always mute him after 5 minutes. Go, TJ.
I don't have that much to say, so we got to fill this shit with something.
So I'll just read the
Shut
fact.
up,
I mean, I think the craziest fact is they were talking about like the age of marriage, and the kids were getting married at like 15.
Oh shit.
Yeah, in that area.
And this is when was this? The 1800s, 1700s?
No, this wasn't. So this book was published in 1978.
78.
Oh man, this sounds fantastic. Imagine getting your first divorce over by the time you turn 25. This sounds like an American paradise.
I don't think they got divorced in these communities. Oh, you want to know the irony? Here's the irony. In this page, we found a leaf.
Oh, that's awesome! It looks.
Damn, leaves.
What did Modern Life John say? He's like, TJ, you're kind of a weird dude. leave TJ alone. That's cool. Now, what kind is that? A maple leaf?
Oh, pull it out.
It might be actually.
Yeah.
There's an app that identifies leaves and shit. You can download to your phone and do that crap if you want to, or you can grab a book. But if you're in a pinch, you could do that.
So
That way you don't wipe with poison ivy or something like that.
right.
No, it's definitely not poison ivy.
I thought the
Shut up,
back,
Google. Shut up.
I thought the back cover had a good quote. So this is
Come on.
from one of the people interviewed, or the writer. He said, "The descendants of the mountain people speak with deep respect of the self-reliance of their forebears. They refer to the stamina, the craftsmanship, the wood lore of these people. They wonder if our modern civilized way of life is really an improvement over that of their ancestors. Is it progress to make people dissatisfied, to make them want what they don't have?"
Hmm.
So that was an interesting quote to put at the back, because these people didn't have, some of them didn't have a whole lot, but they were profoundly self-reliant. Anything that they needed, they were able to make themselves, which I thought, they did all they grew their own food, they made their own tools for the most part, they canned everything so they could survive. I mean, this is what was really some of these people just had zero contact with anybody, so they
Married their own family. It was paradise.
yeah.
Yeah, their sons were their own fathers.
Hey, I'm my own grandpa.
That happens frequently. That happens frequently down south, I hear.
Well, not to take this tangent even more tangential, but
Too late. Too late.
even in the 80s when I was in high school and graduating high school and late teens, and this is going to make everybody feel uncomfortable and awkward, which is why I'm saying it, but there were tons of chicks in my high school who were 15 and 16 and dating dudes well into their 20s with the full knowledge and
that should happen around here too.
And participation,
yeah.
full knowledge and involvement of their parents and all that. And
oh yeah,
it's not.
That wasn't limited to the deep south there. Nick,
Well,
I'll tell you now, it wasn't limited to when Nick was a kid back in the 1500s either. That was I can name a few girls from my class specifically.
James is in a demilitarized zone, also known as the local Starbucks for Wi-Fi access and white mocha coffee monstrosities.
I thought he went to the Ukraine.
Exactly.
That way he could get a photo op with the prime minister over there.
No,
like
I
everybody
actually
else.
joined the IRS so I could go around beating people up for Zelensky's money.
Sounds like he's at a damn paper mill.
It almost, with the windows in the background with the blue, it looks like you're in a YMCA swimming pool.
See, if this were Let Him Burn, he'd be yeeted already.
The hard yeet twangs are incoming, James.
he'd get the hard yeet.
I swear to God, they're waiting until I say something to boost whatever else is going on.
Well, you have your own background music, so that's helpful.
Yeah, there's a barista on the other side of the camera who's like finger over the blender switch, and every time James goes to talk, they like slap into it.
They don't even have to hear me. They just need to wait for the glass to vibrate next to them, and then they're ready.
Mm-hmm. Anything vibrating near you must be pleasant. All right. Speaking of vibrating, Nick, I want to get. My mom's dead, so that must be interesting for you. So speaking of vibrating,
there's not a lot to hold on to. That's
exactly. There's ashes just scatter everywhere.
That's right. God,
it's so fucking irreverent. I love it. So, which was funny when Rob and Jack were out here in Philly, we were doing mom jokes, which was interesting because all of our mothers are fucking dead.
Well, mine's very much alive, but
well, we know.
I drag her anyway.
We know. All right, let's get off the tangent and get off mothers. Let's get off our mothers and head over to the long-awaited Punch Riot re-release.
I know a lot of people have been highly anticipating this. So, yeah.
All five of us have been waiting with bated breath.
Dead Mothers Club. That'd be a good name for a band.
Right.
Yeah. All right, so I'm sorry, where were we? You're asking about Punch Riot?
I'm asking about Punch Riot and its new format. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Hey, you and I were supposed to talk about this before the show tonight. I forgot all about that, remember? Yeah. About laser dicks.
In text the other day, yeah.
Yeah, we'll talk about it after the show's over. It's not much.
course.
Anyway, like I was saying several months ago, I'm changing the format from a subscription-based PDF that you get either weekly or monthly or quarterly.
Here we go.
But it's at this point it's just going to be a live website that's always up, and basically whoever's writing for it, just whenever they get their, when they get their shit ready, they're going to actually get a log into the back end where they can post their work for review, and then I just go in there and make it live. And depending on how well they follow the writer's guidelines, their stuff will show up quickly or maybe not so quickly. So some of the format changes, like what I'm going for basically the same thing this time around as last time, some kind of combination of the kind of articles and stories you'd see in Playboy, National Lampoon, and maybe something like Esquire back in the old days when it was actually a good magazine. So
Boy's Life.
Maybe a little Boy's Life just for you, Vince. Everything, and this is one of the things I was going to talk to you about later. Everything has to be shorter, though. So, one of the new format changes is that there's not going to be any kind of long shit. And if you submit anything that's really long, I'm going to break it up over a couple of different days, because the idea is still what I originally wanted Punch Riot to be, which was basically something, very short that you could read very quickly. And, it's because most people don't actually read stuff that's too long anymore, unless they're trying to find out how to get the girls or something. And so
this is true. And
even then they may not. So it's going to be similar format, shorter features, and the kind of thing where you could pop on there in the morning. The first thing you'll hear is Vince burp. That'll be the sound as the page is loading.
The page turns. It's a burp.
That's right. And then the new feature will pop up, and there will be a way to see, archival stuff by either clicking on the author's name or something. I haven't quite settled on how I'm going to do that, but it's going to be, the original presentation when you get to the page is going to be, very simple with maybe one thing to read. And then if you want to go deeper, you can. So it'll be interesting.
That's cool. Now,
that was, I'm
not for nothing.
Not for nothing. That wasn't a primary criteria, but just as far as a rule of thumb and a good description.
It was like a peripheral bonus.
It was a perfect length for reading on the crapper for most of us, for people that have problems with their, rectal area, like McTubus. It probably wasn't long enough, but
Well, there you go. There's prostate exams.
You can't please everybody. You can't meet everybody's needs.
Very true. Now, when you say a shortened length of fiction or whatever, what does that mean in word count?
Probably a lot shorter than you would like.
Shit. All right, I'll break chapter 10 up into like 4 chapters.
Well, that's why we need to talk about it, because the two people who are going to be on there first, because they've because I wanted to keep serializing Laserdiscs, and then also Charlie Winkle will be back, and he'll be posting some stuff in there as well. So
Gotcha.
So we'll talk about it.
All right. This one by Homeschool Time is a little gay, but it's to the point. Rob does have very succinct, direct writing. He's a very good storyteller. He's better in person. But yeah, cool. But yeah, we could talk about that, because I know chapter 10 is going to be lengthy.
Well, I mean, and here's the thing, I didn't want to get into this too much, in public until we talked about it some behind the scenes, because I still haven't entirely figured this out. But, I want to keep fresh content rolling through as much as possible. So, it's the kind of thing where, if chapter 10 is long, we could break it up into 3 entries. Then, one comes out on Monday, one comes out on Wednesday, one comes out on Friday, or something like that. So it's not like, because this is going to be a website that is always up. The options for frequency, are a lot simpler because there's no, aside from the original template setup, there's no formatting issues and everything every time. So,
okay,
yeah. So
cool.
it's gonna be like that.
Excellent. All right. What's up, John? That's old news, really, but
Who's Cappy? Is he somebody I should know about?
I don't know. Some dude that wrote a book. He had some books ghostwritten for him. So, but,
Is he on a wanted poster somewhere?
probably one of those missing milk carton things.
Wanted for overdapping.
He's probably the subject of a new Netflix documentary.
Over napping or over flapping? I mean,
over fapping, yeah. The
He's
gay hand
famous
rides
for
again.
writing a memoir on depression. You may know it as Curse of the High IQ.
Yeah, that's right. So, Robert, how are you?
I am bloody tired. It has been a long friggin' week. I've been playing catch up all week. I've had project after project kind of going to the dumper. So, about the only good thing is I got in just a couple days ago a vintage Real Genius movie poster, a vintage Excalibur movie poster, and a trip to Germany got canceled. So it's just been that. It's just been that kind of a week. So ups and downs.
Sucks. Yeah.
So much like life, I may end up inheriting a couple of young girls, and not from Tate, unfortunately. These apparently family member is having some health issues, so I may end up raising their daughter. So that's kind of which I only make boys, so I have no idea how to raise little girls. So fortunately, I've got enough women in my life that that's not going to be an issue. And
phone a friend, right?
Yeah. Well, hell, even my one of my ex-wives is going to be buying a house, or she's trying to buy a house next door. Because,
for the whole clan.
Yeah. So she misses me. So there you go.
Pretty soon you'll have your own. You'll be able to apply for your own zip code.
I'm working on it. I'm working on it.
Like a weird variation of the Parent Trap, except they're not parents.
Well, it's just one of those things. It's my life would make for very unbelievable fiction. So I'll just kind of leave it at that.
Nice.
So,
and James, how about yourself? I see you've relocated outside of the Starbucks.
Yeah, better backdrop
now. It is mysteriously, sunset a few minutes ago. That entire sunset behind me was red. You can't see it on a camera like this, though.
Yeah.
Right after I said it was quieter.
Yeah.
I'm going to be moving back into the village apartments back where I had originally moved down before things went to shit with my roommate. I'm currently staying at something down by the south of, not quite the south of Dallas. It's still North Dallas where I'm staying at the moment. But next month I'll be in the new apartment. I'll finally have a place to call my own and do work. A friend of mine, my best friend, hired me on part-time in his boss's media company. And that's been providing me with way more income as my day job kind of goes to shit. So I'm feeling pretty good about things.
Okay, cool.
I hadn't heard the story about the roommate.
Yeah, no. With that, do you have you going in another situation with another roommate, or is he going solo?
No, this is a studio apartment.
Oh, okay. Well,
just a place
to my question.
No. Nobody else is going in with me. Just a place to live by myself, enjoy myself.
There you go.
Have the girl over for dinner, and that's about it.
Okay.
I'll tell you what I'm really missing is I'm missing the gym that I had access to. I'm back up to 180, and I fucking hate it.
Oh, fuck. Is Clary beating you?
He might be. Dude, I got down to 170. I started swimming with a girl. That was pretty fun. And there's lane pools.
Oh, yeah.
That was
Nice.
good. But yeah, I got to get back on it.
Okay. Yeah, you'll get back in the swing of things. Now the job
Swimming with a girl would be a great name for a podcast.
Mhm.
it would be.
You
It
should
would be.
you should do that.
I should look into that shit. Get have her as a
Swimming in a
co-host there,
girls'
then.
lane pool. That's
right.
there you
It's that's a secret code for something.
Mhm.
Now this media job, is that utilizing your voice?
No, surprisingly not. I'm an assistant to my best friend and helping him, basically just making his life easier. It's the laziest $20 an hour I have ever made in my life, but he insists it makes his life about orders of magnitude easier. And it's very, very stark contrast from all the shitty work hard jobs that I've been doing, which have been manual labor since I was 13.
Hmm.
It's an interesting
Okay.
change of pace.
Yeah, that's cool.
Especially since I have the two to compare right next to each other. That might turn into a full-time position. We're going to see. I'll tell you what,
Okay.
though, the media company does have voice actors that they employ, some of which are guests. Once I am in that new apartment with reliable internet and
Yes.
a reliable soundproof environment, I can make things work.
Cool. I'm glad to hear that.
I already have a couple samples done, so this will be,
Oh,
portfolio is going to be pretty quickly.
okay. Nice. And
All right.
TJ, how about yourself? What are you up to?
Well, I was riding a motorcycle today. I have. No, I don't have it. Oh, well, I have the jacket. This is the
Oh,
jacket.
nice. Oh, sweet.
Yeah, so then I've got the American flag helmet and my face mask that I wear to keep the wind out of my face is American flag as well. So I get a lot of pleasant, friendly honks or people cheering me on. I kind of like when you see a train passing by and you just feel really patriotic for some random reason because it's in the middle of the summer.
Yeah.
Yeah,
That's
exactly. Yeah, because I have the bomber jacket. You've seen it before, Vince. That's in the
I
shop.
have.
Yeah, it's unfortunately it was made by those people whose country is asshole.
China's
and-
asshole.
Yeah, so it's falling apart. So I had to go get it fixed. And I was thinking,
Okay.
like, do I want to go like buy another jacket or do I want to just work on this one? And it's like, I'm kind of old to clothing that is able to withstand stuff, and it looks cool. So yeah,
Absolutely. All right, cool.
and it's been saving me a lot of money riding a motorcycle. So
Absolutely.
Can we go back to what you said about seeing a train makes you feel patriotic?
yeah.
Can you explain that one? I'm not getting that one.
I don't know why. I just when
Okay.
trains go
All
by, there's a bunch of people there. We just kind of want to we feel. I don't know. I remember talking about this with my friend. Everybody started cheering. It was on the 4th of July weekend, but I'm like, what's patriotic about trains? And he goes, I don't know. It's just kind of cool. Like they actually.
Well, they used to be a conveyance of presidents, and they used to do the caboose. Like Teddy Roosevelt when he got shot, giving that speech, he was on the back of the train, given in the whatever town, because that's how they saw the states, through trains and met the people.
Right.
So it could be that. I mean, I'm reaching here as I'm grasping at straws.
Well,
so
I mean,
maybe
I
that's
get it. It's a historical thing. It tied the country together. It was important in terms of travel and economics and freight and all that stuff. So okay.
Yeah,
I don't know the exact reason. I think that there's some deep, random, unrelated psychological aspect, and the fact that I've lived near trains for the last 20 years.
Trains are awesome.
When I get stuck at a train, I just die a little because I know I'm going to be there for 10 minutes. So.
You just
See,
touch
I
your
don't have
swimsuit
to-
area,
That's the funny part. I've never had to actually wait at a train crossing to get to a place that I go to frequently. I just lived next to a train crossing, but I never had to go through the train crossing. So that's what's kind of funny. Running trains. Oh god.
Not that train, Amos. You son of a
Yeah.
bitch.
I like it though. I like it. It's a stretch, but it's all right.
It's a good. It's an honest retort.
It would be
cool.
better.
No, yeah.
it would be better if we were at a bar and we could give him a hard time for that in front of a bunch of chicks. That would be better. But
That would be good. That would be funny. Yeah.
The redheaded waitress TJ's been flirting with all night. Yeah, that's when we need to do it.
Right. Speaking of trains, you can't get away from it.
Jesus.
They're calling you, TJ.
What are you
It's
gonna do?
your spirit animal.
Well, it's not an animal.
I had to
it's,
tell you. So I got a question for you guys on the subject of girls getting married in high school or shacking up with. How are all your marriages doing? Out of curiosity, I haven't checked up on those in a while.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Your marriages.
I'm lost.
Haven't you guys gotten married in my absence? I assume that all I see anytime something gets retweeted in the manosphere, apparently everybody's moved on to
No.
getting married and having kids, and I just assume that would be everybody on this podcast.
No, Nick would rather shove a hot poker up his ass than get married again.
I got it. Oh, well, there you go.
I would get married before I would have another kid. That's for sure.
How are your ex marriages doing?
Well, one of them's trying to move next door, so
Well, there you go.
And not all of the mothers of my sons were married to me at the time that they had my offspring, nor after. So
Yeah, Robert's applying for his own zip code, so
I figure some of you guys, since you guys don't want to do the kid thing, it's like I completely respect.
you're taking one
that,
for the
but
team.
Yeah, I'm just doing my part. So
I appreciate that actually.
Last time I talked to my ex-wife, she had an STD, so the ex marriage is going great.
Nice. It is.
Yeah, so the ex marriage is improving.
For Nick, yeah.
It's better than it was beforehand.
For Nick, absolutely. It just keeps getting better and better.
Well, there's more to that story, but I can't go into it here. That's going to be on my pay-per-view, my once a month pay-per-view story time with Nick.
Story time with Uncle Nick.
$5 for 2 hours, worth every penny.
Actually, I think if you keep it for YouTube and the spurgs and retards and their attention spans, I think if you keep it around 10 minutes or under 10 minutes, you'll do smashingly well.
Really?
I think so. Yeah. That's my.
Yeah, but I'm not monetized on YouTube, so I got to have a way to. If I'm gonna get into the really good stuff, I got to get paid for it. So
No, I get it. I completely get it.
Yeah, we understand. $20 is $20. We know
That's
how
right.
it works.
well,
One of my favorite memes.
We've heard the story.
I've heard that.
Yeah.
I've heard people say that.
Some
That's
people
right.
have the T-shirt even. Apparently.
They do. I saw that on social media.
Yeah.
That's fucking
Well,
hysterical.
I'm not here to gay shame anybody, but in my world, $20 is not $20.
Well,
20
no,
bu-
with
20 bucks
with
is
inflation, it's like $8.
$20, all right. $20 is about $7.50, and there ain't no way any of that shit's worth $7.50.
the only way $20
$7.52
buys you $20 worth of anything is if you're buying it from Japan right now, because the yen's even worse than the dollar. But
right?
thanks to the new rules that are going to be stipulated by PayPal, you won't be able to use personal accounts to buy from businesses overseas as of October 22nd or something like that. So
Really?
oh yeah, there's a lot of stuff going
That's
to be
fucking
changing, and it's not just the you send me $600 by Venmo or PayPal or whatever, and I've got to report it to the IRS crap. So there's these student loans that these student loans and these new IRS agents all have to have something to do. So
Well, everyone's spurging out about IRS agents this and IRS agents that, and with the guns and whatnot. You have to understand something. Every federal agency has its own SWAT team, and they have for decades. Okay, the New Jersey education, or what do you call it? The education systems have it. The
Department of Education,
Department of Land Management. They all do. And the president can just say, "Hey, I need that." Remember when Trump was bringing in? I forget what context, but people were spurging out because he was bringing in what seemed like mercenaries. These weird these weird dudes with guns and body armor to protect this and send them here and send them there. Well, those were various SWAT teams from different departments. And the IRS has always had its own SWAT team with guns.
Mm-hmm.
It's not to come to your house to get the tax refund. So stop that. Stop it. That's not what it's for. It's not what they're doing that for.
He's lying. He's lying to you. There's going to be an IRS agent nicknamed Hot Wheels rolling through your front door with a
Well, the thing we need it
with a ram, asking him, "Where's Zelensky's money? Where's Zelensky's money, motherfucker? Where is it?"
That is Zelensky's money.
The thing
Give
we
it
have
to
to
me
keep
now.
in mind is that, of course, Vince is going to say that he works for the feds, so he's here. Everybody accuses me of being a glowy because of my short haircut and aviators.
Would stay.
But I think Vince is actually the real glowy.
Well, you know how to handle those revenuers down south when they come poking around your stills. So
no comment.
Poking is the key word.
Well, honestly, the thing that bothers me about all that is not the tactical units, because they're tactical. Everybody's got a tactical unit. Old folks' homes have tactical units now. It doesn't matter, but 87,000 people. That's an SEC football stadium on a Saturday in the fall. That's a lot of fucking people. And I don't believe there's anywhere near that enough people qualify for that at this time. Anyway, and then B, along those lines, what you're probably going to get is a lot of just unqualified douchebags sitting at a desk.
Pretty much.
Wait, qualified for what? Fucking up your tax returns? That's why they're there.
Accountants,
pushing
people who are CPAs or have any kind
you
of
have to understand too,
ability.
The purpose is to fuck it up and misfile and get things wrong for like years at a time.
Well, the
I know
purpose
you guys are like big red stick people.
That's nothing
love,
new. They've been doing that anyway. They're just filling the ranks. I mean, they were.
And now they're doing it more.
They've been completely understaffed for the past 3 to 5 years. So this is
I think a lot of that money is going to end up going toward IT people, because that's how they're going to get people in the future.
Oh, yeah.
It's going to be, it's just going to be one massive evil database query.
Well, yeah, because they're not even working necessarily in offices. They're all out building stuff, agents working from home and stuff like that.
And they're not all being trained in dubious weapons tactics.
Right.
So that
and some of the ones that aren't taking the training very well. So
not really. No.
Well, let's face it. A lot of at least half or more of the hires are going to be women, and a lot of them are going to be various kinds of blue-haired woke women, and they're gonna still spend half their time at home twerking on TikTok. So it's not
pretty much.
The actual impact on taxpayers will probably be minimal.
It'll be next to nothing. So stop getting your panties in a wad.
But when it is time to go to war with the federal government, that just gives you more people to shoot at. So,
I'm not above that. No, just saying.
Whiskey rebellion all over again.
Jefferson's tree is in desperate need of watering.
Yeah, it is.
Get out the hose.
So I'm glad everyone's doing well. What is everyone drinking? We know what James is doing his coffee.
I'm doing a Gordon Furman.
Oh, okay. I'm finishing up the rum from the trip. The last of the rum.
I was doing bourbon, and I switched over to Bailey's.
How about you, Nick? What are you imbibing?
Drinking Pellegrino.
Oh, okay.
I don't drink alcohol.
What? Oh my God! Talk about a glowy.
I don't drink alcohol.
I don't drink alcohol. See?
You bathe in it, right?
That's my twin brother, Dick August.
Your twin brother what?
Dick August.
Dick
drinks alcohol.
Dick Hurts.
Dick Hurts August. Yeah. Hurts is his middle name.
Special IRS agent Richard Head.
That's right. That is right. All right, that's the show. We're good. You guys,
I'm good.
So we've heard about Punch Riot.
Is Verb still here? I haven't talked to this guy in ages. Only on Twitter.
Rob, paging Rob says, "Are you in the chat? Are you still in the chat, or are you sandbagging?"
Well, I mean, if
I
you're
might have
looking
scared him away with my background noise.
Probably.
if you're looking for a topic, I've got a rant for you. If you want
Please
to rant,
rant away.
there's all this stuff going on. I see on Twitter about people talking about how you have to be open to everybody, and young people have answers and solutions too. And I'm just here to tell you, no, they don't. They don't. And not only that, but drugs and alcohol are for old people, not for young people. Because if you think about it, if you take drugs and you drink a lot when you're young, and this is something I learned in my last year of debauchery, if you drink and take a lot of drugs when you're young, all you do is fuck up your life. If you start taking them now at 55, where I'm at, and your kids are raised and they're, decent citizens and all that other bullshit, then drugs and alcohol and debauchery just makes your life better. And there's no downside. What's the worst thing that can happen? You die a little bit quicker. So what?
Well, what's funny is
That's a very good point.
Well, you
Dick.
don't even die young necessarily, or younger. Churchill smoked cigars and was a daytime drinker throughout the day. He still lived to be 90. So this is where, and I've been seeing this on Twitter where people are like, don't drink, don't smoke, don't eat this, don't do that. And I'm like, yeah, if you're of a certain, if your genetics say so, don't do it. But Churchill, clearly, he was not the most physically fit guy in his later years, but he would
That's
drink.
an understatement. Looks like the fucking penguin.
Yeah, he lived to be 90.
Burgess
I know
Meredith.
guys who they smoked a pack of cigarettes a day. World War II guy lived to be in his 90s, and it's just like, I think stress actually is far worse for people than alcohol.
Yep.
If you're stressed out all the time,
Dude, I've gone through long periods of my life where I didn't drink at all. Gone through long periods where I did. If you don't like drinking, don't drink. If you don't like smoking, don't smoke. But you're right. The problem is always when, the way I describe this is the problem of getting the actual number of pi, because you never, if I ask somebody what pi is, the answer is however many points past the decimal they remember. But that's not the whole story, because there's always a little bit more to pi, and you're never going to get to the end of it. And that's why I balk, at all these checklists and stuff, because
don't drink coffee. Yeah, right. It's the same thing, right? Where they say
black coffee. Must have black coffee.
Well, it's don't drink coffee, or it's do drink coffee, or it's don't do this or do that, and it's all these chodes out there who just want who want to sell something, is all it is.
That's kind of how I totally agree. That's how I feel. I feel like they're trying to capture weak-willed young men, and they want to sell them on a plan. If you don't drink coffee, if you don't drink alcohol, and you don't smoke, we'll put you on the plan. You're going to be successful. It's like, yeah, dude, I know a lot of successful people who do cocaine and hookers, or they're doing other stuff. Like, no,
they do the cocaine off of the hookers. Their asses.
That's really the only way to do it. It's the only way to
extra
do it.
points.
It's the only way to do it.
It's just like, but what they're doing is they're taking a bunch of young men who are dumb. They don't know anything about life. They've been taught nothing, and they're saying a bunch of random stuff. They're throwing they're casting their rod out into the pond full of all these fish, or maybe a net, but is probably a better way, and trying to see how many they can snare in their net by saying, hey, if you follow all these rules, and by the way, subscribe to my Gumroad or my Patreon or my whatever, my grifter thing, and if you follow all these weird, not aesthetics, but what's it called? What's it called when you're like, you don't, it's not a religious term, but it's where you don't engage in any kind of like
asceticism.
Yes,
asceticism. You punish yourself to make sure you don't experience any pleasure.
Yeah, it's like, I'm sorry, that sounds like somebody.
We already had a term for this back in the day. It was called Miller Lite masculinity. And it's honestly my favorite. I want to hear around the table everybody's favorite Miller Lite masculinity. And I'm going to start with me. My personal favorite of Miller Lite masculinity is men who are generally noodle-armed pussies and tech bros who are selling these courses and compensating with overly large beards that don't look good. Telling me that black coffee is the only way to go. If I'm taking sugar or cream with my coffee, I'm some kind of weird degenerate. If you ask these people what they do for a living, it's always, well, I work with computers, or I work at an office, or I sell courses on how to do other things that I'm not actually doing myself on Gumroad. And it's never like someone like me who builds grills and bikes for a day job, or patio furniture, or somebody who's a trucker. They don't drink black coffee.
Yeah.
They're like, well, I love myself and I want to have a little bit of enjoyment in the first part of my day before I go break my fucking back.
Yeah. No,
Dude,
I get it. I think my issue with the Miller Lite masculinity bullshit is probably these anonymous or semi-anonymous experts in something parroting back, whether it's Rollo or Marcus Aurelius or some shit. It's
Rollo
I get,
Aurelius.
yeah, fucking whatever. That bullshit, and you don't see. There's no proof of purchase. It's like a priest giving a sex talk, and they all get muted now. Anytime I come across one or someone likes it or across the Twitter feed, mute.
You know, if only somebody had recently done a 2-hour live stream on hedonism versus asceticism, that would be a useful resource if somebody had recently done something like that.
Well, I don't extremes in anything or have never been my
Nixon
own.
did a stream on that.
Yes.
Yeah, Rob and I did that 2 weeks ago. We did this whole thing.
Yeah, extremes on any side has never been my life plan. So, do what you want to do. I mean, I really don't give a shit.
Well, that's not how
I really don't care.
All that black and white shit is not how people actually live. That's the problem. It's
it's one side or the other of the scale.
Right. I mean, it's like like I've completely broken almost every one of these little checklist rules, my entire adult life on all this shit. And none of it stopped me from making six figures. None of it stopped me from raising kids that weren't criminals. None of it stopped me from doing any of this other shit. And nobody outside of, maybe Mormons and Scientologists ever used to talk that way anyway. Mm-hmm. And now it's just pervasive everywhere. I mean, a couple of years ago, we did an episode of Let 'Em Burn where I talked about how I started drinking again because of my kids. And it's not what you think. It was that, I didn't drink for the first, decade they were alive. But then I realized, especially in the, in their former their current extended family, my former extended family by law, there were a whole lot of drunks, but they didn't really know anybody who just, drank like a man, not like a frat boy. And that's where that whole thing came from, because I started drinking again just to show them, you can have a couple of drinks, take it easy. And it doesn't have to, turn into some kind of travesty.
Yeah.
And so that's what I started doing when they were teenagers, because I just figured,
now's your time.
That was part of my job. And so I did. And so I started drinking again. Of course, I haven't stopped either. Probably won't.
As well, you should not.
Right. So, so for some people, if you can't handle it, if you're an alcoholic and you can't handle it, yeah, but most of the guys who preach this stuff are recovering alcoholics. And so of course for them alcohol is a horrible thing and they can't have any of it, and so they want to tell you how great their life is now that they don't have any of it. But for the rest of us, life didn't become shitty because we drank, so drinking was not a problem for us, and they can't wrap their minds around that. So
that's like the whole children with dynamite thing.
Well, as a dad, I think it's cool to be able to have a beer with one of my kids or have a drink with one of my kids. That's, whether it's here at the house or, we go to a neighborhood bar and, we order a couple beers and we sit there and talk to each other. That's, to me, that's a blast. That's one of the nice things about being a parent. It makes all of the, that first 21 years of life and helping them do stuff, and then they kind of come to you and it's like, you want to go grab a beer or something, and it's like, yeah, sure. Because I know some dads that don't get that.
Oh yeah, no, empires were built with the help of alcohol.
Yeah, like I gotta tell you, man, the one thing I wish was a little bit more common or like normal to talk about in this space was like mental illness, or replace it with mental disorders is a little bit easier to talk about. Because honestly, I see like nicotine, alcohol, and SSRIs, and like pack on like benzos onto this or whatever, as all being treatments or coping mechanisms.
They can be, yeah.
For things that might be disordered in your life or disordered in your state of mind.
I saw that when I worked in the mental health field. Most patients, when I worked for the crisis house here, or one of the crisis house, whatever the fuck you call it. Anyway, a lot of the patients were duly diagnosed. They had an addiction alongside their diagnosed mental illness because they were self-medicating. So, along with their medication, which is not optimal, but they did it anyway.
I don't self-medicate. I just drink
a lot here. Oh yeah, sometimes a cigar is just a cigar, but other times people are lying.
Correct.
You see people who are like suck down enough alcohol to kill an elephant in a given week. It's like, all right, well, you're probably self-medicating for something, which is fine, by the way. I want more people to do that. It's unbelievable to me that if Adderall works for you, it means that we invented a pill that cures laziness. Oh no, we got to get rid of this. Are you fucking kidding me? Shut up. Shut the fuck up. Right?
Shut the fuck up.
If we invented a pill that cures laziness, give it to every child above the age of 5 just to test it out, see if it works on them.
Well, see, it's funny you bring that up because Nick Jr., they wanted to give him Adderall and shit when he was younger, and it was because, and the thing is that that's where it starts getting complicated, right? Because the school system wants to give him that shit because they just want him to sit down, shut up, focus, be easier to control. And so, I had teachers, and even my wife at the time briefly went to work on me for that shit. And I said, hell no, I'd rather have him burning through that school every day like the Tasmanian devil than start drugging him up, until, and then when he turns 18, and if he goes to college or goes to work and he thinks he needs Adderall, then that's his decision to make. But it's my objection to it is just, when shit is forced upon people that don't actually need it to function. They need it to meet somebody else's paradigm of what good behavior is, and that's
right, where it's not self-medication or an aid for some behavior. It's for somebody else to get you to conform to something else.
Well, yeah,
that's where it's not for you. Exactly.
Yeah, because when Nick, Vince, and I were all young enough to be in elementary school, instead of giving us Adderall, they just sent us outside for a half hour, 45 minutes to run around
recess.
Like idiots. Yeah, it was called recess. We ran around, we slammed into each other, beat the crap out of each other for 45 minutes of Thunderdome, and then we went in and got a drink at the water fountain and went back to class, and we were like completely
took a nap on our rug.
But then they got rid of recess, and then they got Ritalin.
Yeah.
And then it was let's dope them up. That's when it started. It was with Ritalin and shit.
Yeah, and before they got rid of recess, of the they stopped letting little boys be little boys out on the playground.
Yep.
They just wanted to be little boys at the altar in church.
Jesus Christ.
Hey, it's a dark world. I didn't create it.
It's like that never made Hollywood series Touched by a Priest. Hey, Alex, thank you. You want to read this, James? I'm going to throw it up here for you.
All right, so from Alex Patino for $10 says, despite popular belief, the ancient Egyptians did not use forced labor on the building of the pyramids, but gainfully employed men who were paid in beer, bread, or coins.
I love that idea. That's perfect.
And the coins, for Aaron Clary, would be $20.
No, they'd be wheat pennies.
Wheat pennies, yeah.
Yeah, they'd have to be wheat pennies.
That's awesome. Thank you, Alex.
And
That's very kind of you.
So that $10 he just paid, that would have gotten you about, a day's worth of moving blocks.
Yeah,
Back
probably
in-
feed your family for a fucking week.
Or
right.
about 5 minutes with Aaron Clary.
That's a fate worse
You're
than death.
overestimating his stamina.
That's
I think.
probably 4 minutes too long. I was about to
Yeah.
say.
No, the
it's
first
like-
part is them talking about economics.
That's like trying having to listen to Howard Cosell.
I'm equal. I'm not part-time.
Yeah.
We're in a day and time where most people don't even get that Cosell joke.
I was
Yeah.
waiting for somebody to go, huh?
Who?
James
Howard
definitely
who?
doesn't. You
I was
guys
waiting
know
to see if someone would impersonate Howard Cosell.
the voice is very distinctive, and the
Oh, yeah.
pauses between words. Yeah. You guys, you young fuckers in the chat, go look up Howard Cosell.
Speaking of ancient Egypt, there's a theory that they actually had some kind of magnetized shit that helped them move big stones way back in the day that we just don't have any record of.
Wouldn't surprise
Well,
me.
the Greeks had Greek
It's a theory.
fire. We still haven't figured out what they did or how they created it. We know the basic stuff of like how it worked, but we don't know how they were able to actually make it. So
Yeah.
you got to wonder how many other things they created back in ancient times that we've still haven't figured out.
Well, I think I'm not one of these ancient aliens guys, but I as far as ancient civilizations go, I do think that there were advanced civilizations that existed here long before what we've usually thought or been told, and I think there's growing evidence to actually indicate that. May not ever be able to outright prove it. I don't know, but every time they think that they found the oldest civilization, a decade later they uncover a new one. So that's much older. It's twice as old.
Yeah, they didn't even believe that the Hittites from the Bible ever existed, and then they found an archaeological dig, and what they discovered is that it was actually once one of the major world powers. So like, there's entire civilizations that could have been completely ruling a huge chunk. I mean, but also you think of like Genghis Khan, or his empire was not on paper the way that the Romans were. They left a whole bunch of stuff. He just went to conquered areas and moved on, but he didn't leave. There's no leg other than
There's no record. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, genetic legacy aside, but like, I mean, you would never know.
That's a
unless it was written
Distinctive
down.
record for sure.
It's the only one that really matters.
Well, but
Well, and in the law of the universe, absolutely.
yeah, but the idea is that there could have been civilizations that had a lot of technology, advanced technology, and were very successful and very powerful, and everything about them got wiped out
Mhm.
by whether it was by another civilization or by some natural disaster, something like that.
Well, there's growing evidence for this theory that there was this massive comet that hit the Arctic area, basically Canada, 13,000, 12,000 years ago, and did it over the course of about 20 years. Like every year when you go through the comet's tail, you'd get bombarded by even more of it. And the theory is that it hit glaciers up in Canada that instantly melted them and caused massive flooding down through North America, which wiped out like the Clovis civilization and all that other shit. And there's growing physical evidence that is a possibility. So. Yep. Fucking comets. Well, we still go. They think it's the same comet that we still go through the tail of every June and every November or December. I don't remember what they're called. I don't think it's the Taurids, but it may be the Taurids. It's in constellation Taurus. But
The Leonids, something.
we go through it the same one twice a year, and they think that may actually be the one that wiped out a lot of early civilization in North America in particular.
Okay. Yeah.
That's been my hobby since I somewhat retired.
Okay.
It's researching that shit.
Ancient civilizations.
Yeah, my goal, I have a
Have a paper coming out.
Like many of my tentative plans, no, but I would like to take a few months and kind of drive around North America and just check out like ancient petroglyphs and shit like that, because I think that stuff's pretty fascinating.
Mm-hmm.
And when you do that, let me know. I'll wander with you up and down the eastern seaboard.
I'm cutting straight. My first stop is going to be in Ohio to that serpent mound that's in Ohio, because that is a cool motherfucking thing if I ever saw one.
Okay.
So that's on the list.
Nice. I like it.
There's actually like there's some of that shit here in West Alabama and Eastern Mississippi, and I don't remember what the scientific name for it is, but we call it Moundville in Alabama, because there's this area where there's a lot of ancient Indian mounds.
Are they're burial grounds or?
No, they're like those like mounds where it's just ancient civilization shit up under those mounds, and it just all got buried.
Yeah, we got some of those up in northern Indiana. So.
Yeah. The whole central spine of the country kind of has that stuff from Ohio down to here, and a lot of these guys that research that shit, they come down here to check out the petroglyphs and some of the carvings and stuff that they see in Mississippi and in West Alabama, because what they've discovered, it's stuff that we kind of take for granted, but it's like there are these images that are carved in stone or that are written, kind of scratched in stone, of things like winged serpents and all that shit that you find in almost every ancient culture, and
the Aztecs and everything, yeah.
But even these ancient cultures that India versus Mississippi, so cultures that weren't supposed to have any commonality or have ever met each other.
There's no contact, yeah.
You see these themes that show up time after time, and so the working theory, at least one of the working theories is, and of course not all scientists believe this, because how can you prove it, but it's that there was an even more ancient civilization that traveled more extensively than people think, and kind of shared this stuff around the world. And there's even some DNA evidence in like people, these people from South America, like the Amazon, they have some DNA that's like only found in Australia.
Well, yeah, that's Thor Heyerdahl set out on using ships built with the technology either of the Polynesians or of the ancient Egyptians. Kon-Tiki, I think some of the ships were like the Ramses, and he tried to circumnavigate with very primitive technology from the Far East to West to the Caribbean islands, or to the Polynesian islands, and then up to like South American stuff, and was able to prove that it was technologically possible, but that still doesn't prove whether or not it happened. It just proves that it's possible that it could have happened. But of course, when he was doing all that stuff, there wasn't the level of genetic research that there is today as far as mapping genomes and things to like, okay, how on earth are these people who have supposedly never met until the 19th or 20th century have shared genetic material going back in like mitochondrial DNA thousands of years ago. So,
and there also wasn't a lot of the archaeological discoveries, that we've had since then that indicate stuff like the thing that I'd never even heard of before, because this wasn't on my radar until the last couple of years when I started getting interested in it, was when they discovered this place called Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, which was like, it was I don't remember the number, 10,000 years older than what we thought the oldest civilization that we'd had archaeological evidence for. They just, this farmer was out digging in his fucking field, and he was plowing the field, and he uncovers this weird stone that was peeking up underground. And so they started the excavation there. It's a fascinating fucking thing. They started the excavation there, and what they found was they just dug deeper and deeper and deeper, and there was this whole fucking, it's like Stonehenge on acid with, you know, living quarters. Just the whole thing was buried underground, and they said based on the geologic evidence that they had built this thing and then they fucking buried it for some reason.
Oh damn.
And they want to know if they did actually bury it themselves, and they had various reasons why they thought it was buried rather than there was some sort of, you know, mudslide or something. But fascinating stuff.
That's pretty cool. Are there any books you would recommend on it that you've come across?
Yeah, the book that I read, and this is, and you got to understand that in this area, there's like this feud between the traditional archaeologists and all these people coming up with these newer theories, you know, and if you've ever spent any time in academia or known anybody there, you know, it's just it's a bunch of turf wars is what it is, because if you depart from the, you know, the canon of thought for whatever your scientific discipline is, then you don't get peer reviewed and they don't publish your shit and they ridicule you. So there've been stories of all these archaeologists who suggested this stuff decades ago, and they were just kind of laughed out of the conversation. And then as time has gone on,
20 years, like, you know, this is the way it is. And all of a sudden
that's where your bread and butter comes from.
Wrong.
Yeah, your identity, your financial identity is being.
So there's no way in hell you're going to accept the fact that you're wrong, which of course flies squarely in the face of science, which is all about what should be all about finding out what the truth is. Inquiry. It's like, I believed this for 20 years based on the evidence I had. Now I have this new evidence. Isn't this amazing? Oh no, because my God, my tenure's wrapped up in this. Right. I sell thousands of dollars worth of books every year. These are in like college campuses and high school this is my nugget. You can't take away my nugget.
Well, here's something. Here's where you can start. The two guys that kind of, I think, do the best job, and it certainly do the best job of presenting it, are a guy named Graham Hancock, who's a British dude, and he's not a scientist, he's a science writer, so he writes about this shit. And then there's another guy named Randall, what's his last name? It's Randall Carlson. And so I read a couple of Hancock's books back when I was doing all my, Florida debauchery last year when I was driving around. I just got the books on tape and I was listening to them, constantly for over the last year. But if you watch them on Joe Rogan, it's pretty damn interesting. And then I don't remember the names of the titles of the books offhand, but cool. they're pretty good books. Especially, I can look up Hancock's book that I read that was actually seemed really good. I mean, he's a little bit of a kook too, because he's into ayahuasca and he believes in like all this psychic woo-woo shit and stuff that I just think's bogus. But the actual like journalism of because you're not only getting like a theory about where these lost civilizations went to, but you're also getting kind of an overview of how people have been thinking about it over the last 100 years, which to me is almost the more interesting part, because you see like what Rob was talking about all of the jockeying and everybody with their competing theories, and everybody's trying to get published, and and then you get paid for the better positions at the university and all that kind of stuff. So it's there's always that economic motivation, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah, instead of following the science, it's following the money.
Always.
Yeah.
The book that I thought was the most interesting is called America Before.
America Before.
Yeah.
Okay.
They get really into like how and the book on tape is actually pretty, he narrates it himself, I think, but it's pretty easy to listen to. So it's kind of cool.
Okay. And for you youngins in the chat, book on tape equates to Audible.
Yeah.
So you know.
Well, I too am an archaeological object.
Yeah.
Dating back.
You are a relic, that's for sure.
Yeah. Wait till Rob says and I get together and we have a music talk and we're just talking all about LPs.
Right.
Right.
Well, yeah,
Yeah.
it's the exact same thing.
Yeah.
And, Red Crusader's making this, fringe science thing, and I don't consider this fringe science. I consider, I was abducted by aliens, and here's the evidence. To me, that's fringe science. But people that, and flat Earth, I think that's fringe science. But when you're talking about examining physical and geological evidence using the scientific method, when you're actually, and interviewing scientists who actually do that for their living, and are coming up with different theories, I don't think that's any more alternate science than I do, people who say that Fauci's full of shit for pushing whatever he's pushing, because, I haven't taken any of his, any of his vaccines, and I'm still, at least, so far I'm still doing all right.
Well, and some of us are old enough to remember when Fauci was a fraud during the AIDS crisis. So,
Right. Well, and I'm glad you bring that up, because that's one of the things, that's one of the problems I have with all these, dudes who are all about, oh, you got to listen to everybody. Well, no, you don't, because first of all, you don't have time to listen to everybody. And second of all, the problem with, younger people teaching you something is not that they can't, and it's not that they don't have some, they don't pick up some knowledge or information that is fresh to you. That's great. That's fine. If somebody does, I'm all open to it. The difference is they don't have 40 years of perspective, like you just said, and their context is so much smaller than what an older person's context is, and they've not seen the waves go up and down of the bullshit over the years, and how all that plays out. And I think a lot of times, I think this because I did it. You get, you get into your late 20s, early 30s, you start getting cocky because you do start learning some things about life, and then you think you've pretty much got it all, wrapped up, but you don't. You just don't.
No, but that doesn't mean sometimes a young person can't come up and see you doing something, and it's like, well, why don't you do it this way? And actually, it's a genuinely good idea. And then other times it's like, well, why don't you do it this way? It's like, because we tried doing it that way, when you weren't even a spermazoa, and it didn't work. But that's okay. Nice try. But so it can go either way in those kind of contexts. But as
nobody's
nobody's
got the sole claim on the truth or the facts. That's for damn sure.
No, exactly. I mean, I
think one major change we're going to have to deal with is, well, that's the thing, is it's not just me. I am a collection of a ridiculous number of influences from people working hard as possible to reach out to me over the internet from anywhere without restriction. Right? Like Stefan Molyneux was able to put forth ideas that are frankly unacceptable, even by most of people's, even by the standards of most people today. Now, I talk about, cutting off family or setting boundaries of family members nowadays, and it's people still freak the fuck out. I told Vince, like that's an idea that doesn't translate today. You see the red pill stuff. There's no. People still regard that as being ridiculous. People in the red pill will regard, who are all about like setting boundaries in the context of personal relationships with, or in the context of romantic relationships, will still freak out at, like, well, not freak out because they tend not to react that way to anything in general, but will still go like, well, why wouldn't you just accept this behavior from your parents and just say that they were doing the best that they could, or that it's not their fault and you shouldn't blame them for acting the way that they are. You should just, accept what they're doing. And
well, Red Crusader makes a good point about that. He said that's what the top scientific communities call some of those guys that advance these theories about alternate views of, how far back advanced civilization goes and stuff like that. That's no different than people who say, it's creepy if a 40-year-old dude dates a 25-year-old dude. It's the same.
Wait, what did you say?
Perspective. People who ridicule these dudes who, come up with fact-based empirical evidence for some of these theories about ancient civilizations, they get ridiculed for that in the same way that, you know, dudes get ridiculed for, you know,
dating younger women,
dating somebody much younger. It's a shaming tactic is all it is. It's a shaming tactic to protect either your turf or your own headspace from something that challenges it that you don't like.
Or sometimes it's out of envy,
Right.
you know, because you know, I'm middle-aged and can't date a 20-year-old girl, then no one middle-aged should be able to date a 20-year-old girl. And that's how some of these guys think. It's like they don't.
You poor fools.
Yeah, it's like I've always looked at it that you can't. It's not necessarily a zero-sum game. I mean, the win conditions and the lose conditions are different for every person playing the game, because we're all playing different games. And while there are certain essentials as far as, you know, shelter, things that give us pleasure in life, companionship, on whatever terms we have that companionship, whether it's, you know, a monogamous relationship or a cycle of dating, or, you know, a chick every once in a while when I need to get a certain itch scratched. I mean, that's all different for everybody, because, you know, what would be a winning scenario for me isn't going to be a winning scenario for Nick or Vince. But that doesn't mean I'm not playing the game to the best of my ability, or Nick's not playing the game to the best of his ability, or whatever. I wouldn't consider any of us on the panel losers in life, even though all of us have had our wins and all of us have had our losses. And
hey, if if you're living your life the way you want, then there you go.
That's a win. That's
successful.
It's exactly like what
if you're still living, that's a win, because depending on the situation you're in, just to make it another day is a friggin' win.
Well, you know, I mean, you know, James was saying it well, because you know, when he was talking about the red pill part of it, because, you know, you see this when people want to, you know, shame, say, Christians, for example. Now, you know, I'm not a Christian. I'm not a church guy anymore. I used to be, but, you know, almost every time I hear somebody say, well, you know, those Christians are X, Y, or Z. And I'm like, well, no, they're not, because I know a lot of them and none of them are like that. None of them think that way, you know, but, you know, we produce these caricatures in our head of people who are religious, or who are gun owners, or who are, you know, red pill or whatever. I hear incorrect definitions of the red pill by everybody who wants to slam it
or make money off of it,
or make money off of slamming it, or make money off of slamming it, or make money off of being, you know, some kind of red pill huckster. And there's always truth in those stereotypes somewhere. Somebody does that shit. Somebody does fuck it up, but that does not define and shouldn't define, you know, the question or the debate, because you know, exceptions, sometimes exceptions prove the rule, but sometimes they don't. And that's the biggest thing that I see. And if you're gonna talk about, you know, the internet has done this or that, it's made people even more reactionary than they are naturally. And I think that's probably the
thing is, generationally, you, Vince, and I are all pretty much in the same generation and have some similar experiences and some very different experiences. Then there's James. But I bet you James, even though he and I are in different, I mean, James is old enough to be one of my kids. I mean, bottom line it. Dad. But I bet he and I could tell, but I bet he and I could tell some very interesting stories about our moms and compare notes.
Yeah, well,
and it's like, and then we can throw Vince in that mix too. And that's that's with us knowing, I'm sure Vince and James know more than I do about either of the two, but I mean, they've known each other longer. But I mean, just in what I know from Vince that he has shared with me, and just in what I know from James that he has shared with me, or that has been shared on this show, we could easily spend an evening drinking and going, you think your mother's bad, my mother da 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 da, and it's like, oh no, yeah, my mother, and we could one up each other with horrible mother stories. Probably
we could do it all day.
Yeah,
and on like the same level, the same foundation, like the same.
Well,
the same
I
kind
don't
of like expectation of how we treat this stuff.
Well, I don't know if your experience has been the same as mine. With having kids, but it's the same thing as the experience with women. If you date somebody, she thinks you're God, she treats you like God until you break up or divorce, and then you were some kind of narcissist. So everybody's ex was a narcissist. And I think I look at my parents and I'm like, yeah, you fucked this shit up, you did this shit right, but I don't really care, because Mike, it's like I don't use they did the best they could thing, because I think that's a cope and an excuse. I think it's more like, I don't give a shit what they did. I mean, it's not like
they just did, and that was
they didn't right. They didn't ruin me.
did.
I mean,
there's nothing wrong with being able to say good enough. That being said, the next generation that is coming up, like Gen Z, and then like we're sort of Gen Z kind of parented each other by way of internet access. First generation that was literally.
What the fuck? Shut the fuck up.
Is that Rob? Is Rob? Like,
it's probably Rob.
Motorcycle?
It's probably Rob. He's probably sitting behind me. But
that sounds like a goddamn
crotch. Still going.
That sounds like a crotch rocket. That's not Rob.
Thanks, Chad.
I just heard him crash on the Texas 12 loop.
Right.
Well, I always make the joke about Gen X that the key parties and the fondue parties of the 70s and 80s created latchkey kids. So and then a lot of Gen Xers ended up just fucking up with their kids too. But if my parents participated in any key parties, I certainly don't know about it. And my parents were but see, that's the difference. My parents were generally around. They made sure that I stayed out of too much trouble, and it wasn't that big a deal. So that's the thing. Everybody's experience with family, like you were saying, James, is different.
Yeah, and it's going to be different. Like, I think as people start setting cultural like standards for how we treat each other, the generation that raised mine, which is primarily Gen X, is probably going to get it worse on the worst on the evaluation. Because if you want to set standards, like you have to go like balls deep with it. That's why it's so reactionary on the internet. You have to be willing to say, you have to be willing to not give yourself an out where you say, nope, like this is acceptable, this is not. And if I sin or fuck up, I have to make restitution and say I'm sorry. But that's like, this is okay, this up here is not. And you just set the boundary. So the people and the first like movement around doing that, not the first, each movement that does that is going to be harsher on the people who came before them.
Well, at the end of the day,
or else it doesn't last.
At the end of the day, it's mainly just a bunch of talk, because people are going to still end up doing what they do, and they're not. This is not something, and I think here's the big difference between old fucks and young fucks is that this is not something that will ever be resolved. And this is not a question with an answer. These are mostly gripes, and children have always had gripes with their parents. My kids, in my mind, my kids have absolutely nothing to gripe about, because I was there the whole time. I set boundaries with them. I raised them in a way that I thought was best. And they still found things to be pissed at me for, but then they also came back later and said, I was only pissed at you because I was a 14-year-old douchebag. It wasn't getting what I wanted. And so there's a big difference between the tell is when you hear people talking about how difficult parenting is, and the truth of the matter is raising kids is not hard. It's not difficult. What's difficult is when you create difficult situations and then try to raise your kids either in the midst of or in spite of those difficult situations. And then, that can make things difficult. But actually raising your kids, I mean, my wife and I didn't get along for a long time. And, some of that, unfortunately, the kids as they got older, they ended up seeing. But as far as just raising them and doing all the usual shit, it really didn't have much of an effect at all. And that's the thing that I think people get wrong so much is is when they start talking about how difficult raising the kids was. It wasn't difficult raising the kids. It was difficult raising the kids while you were banging 3 other women around your schedule, and your wife was banging somebody else, and one of you was doing coke, and whatever the travesty is, right? All that shit. Yeah, that makes life difficult. It doesn't just make raising kids difficult. So to me, that's how it actually pans out.
Yeah.
I'm just going to bring a short callback to the kids always have gripes. Yeah, kids always do have gripes. Kids have not always had access to talk to other kids about their gripes and then rely on those kids financially and kind of like raise each other in parallel to their parents, to where you get an influx of values from other people acting as like surrogate parents. That's a unique part. That's the part that is going to be adjusting people's culture. I see way more people nowadays cutting off parents, cutting off family, sometimes going like too far, where I see it, I'm like, whoa, you cut them off for that? All right.
Well, I mean, if you're cutting off your parents because they're alcoholics and they're always, trying to get money from you and all this other, fucked up shit. Yeah, I get that. If you're cutting off parents because of politics, then you're just a douchebag,
It's whatever it is for these people. What is that I'm hearing in the background?
Very true. That is our
theme music.
Oh, we have
music.
theme. Ooh.
We have theme music. Yes, this is taken from the Master and Commander.
Make sure you guys are, of course, hitting the like button and subscribing, you bastards. But yeah,
right.
so it's people are going to set different boundaries for different reasons, and they're gonna. This is the other thing, is when people are talking online. This relates to pretty much every topic we've talked about tonight. When people are talking about what they're going to do, you did hit the nail on the head. A lot of it's just talk. When they get into it, when they get into the experience. This is something I got to talk with Vince about specifically. I alluded to it while he was on vacation. Once they're in the thick of things, they act a lot differently. Like, I didn't think that my mother was going to be able to bribe her way back into my life when I first ran halfway across the country with a backpack. But turns out, gosh, having extra money sure is nice.
Right.
Having extra money sure is nice. And turns out I'm not all that, as long as I'm getting that extra money, I'm a little bit more willing to have that person in my life. As long as
restitution.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
This person is going to give me more financial security when I moved out of the house than they gave me while I was under their roof. There's a little bit of satisfaction in that, and I'm okay with the relationship closing out on a happier note.
Well, here's my question for you though. When if at some point that situation flips, are you going to provide her with some financial benefits as well?
Are you fucking kidding me? Why on earth would I do that?
That's what restitution is, Nick.
This person who did not meet their financial responsibilities, did not meet their parent responsibilities while I was under their roof, right? Did start doing it after I left the nest, and she realized that all of her kids were fleeing away from her, with the exception of the youngest. Man, she picked up a fiance now. She's getting married. Yeah.
When?
Yeah, she did that. She did that real quick once it looked like I was going to move out of the house.
Let's remember something.
She lost her man.
That's why I don't pay my taxes, because the federal government has never met its financial obligation to me, so that's why I'm not paying my taxes.
Yeah, I think that's completely appropriate. Do you know who you're talking to? I fucking hate taxes.
Fear the Greeks, even when they come bearing gifts.
That's what I hear.
Yeah, but
Nails that don't have parentheses. Like, always fear the Greeks.
Right. Perfect. But it relates to what I was talking with Vince a little while ago. Is like, I'm in my first what's going to be a long-term relationship. A lot of the shit I said online, like, I'm going to do this, I'm going to hold this boundary, I'm going to do this. No, I didn't.
Right.
No, I didn't. I didn't know what I was doing. A whole new experience opened up to me where I was like, oh, I didn't know how I was going to handle this. I did fold over. I could point to times in these situations where I did fold or bend over, or I'm on my out of 1,000 concessions, I'm on 99.
Right.
Mhm.
And it's weird. It's weird. Like, there is something to be said for experience and actually going out there and
Of
realizing,
course.
oh, a lot of this, what I said was just talk. And
and you'll extrapolate from that what you will as time goes on. I mean, that's just
Mhm.
how you do it, man. That's how
you
you
take
do
what
it.
you want and you pay for it is the
Exactly.
deal. It's like, all right, if I fold on this, I get this, and this out of it.
Mhm.
But maybe it costs the health of the relationship, or it costs me some financial security, or I gain financial security,
Correct.
but it harms the relationship a little bit. It's been even weirder seeing that on the other side of things, like seeing a similar family situation play out. We
Mhm.
visited family. I won't give too many details, but we visited family out in East Texas about 2 weekends ago. And there was an argument about how Texas Tomboy was treating her mother, spawned off of like one line, like one reference. And I got to hear line by line the same script I had to experience and had to go through with regards to, you only get one mom, what your XYZ is respectful, you shouldn't hold this boundary, you shouldn't do this. Your mother was so affected, you and your mother and I were so affected by the death of this family member. That was particularly pertinent. I got to experience all of that like very quickly after my father died. It was all like hearing these things word for word
Right.
was completely surreal. I think the phrase I used talking to Vince was, I was experiencing line by line the exact same script that I had gone through before, but playing a different role.
Yeah.
And it was like an out of body experience.
Yeah,
Watching
you
somebody,
were in the same play, but instead of being the main character, you were one of the supporting characters, and it's like, oh yeah, I
Supporting
remember
cast.
this
You're
dialogue.
the
I
extra.
remember this. Yeah.
dude, it was so weird. It was completely weird.
Mhm.
It was weird. Like the experience is still shocking to me in a fashion that I don't quite have language for yet. It was handy that I had gone through that stuff before, because I was like, oh great, I could just say things that I would have wanted to hear when I was going through this, and we'll see if this works.
Mhm.
We'll see how this turns out. And surprisingly enough, it did. I keep tripping into success when it comes to the relationship, is what I'm
Nice.
finding. Which is not terribly far away from like pickup, and my experience there was tripping into success.
Is
Right.
any of that from learning from, like, just to use Vince as an example, learning from some of his mistakes, just based on the friendship you guys have had over the years and the stuff you guys have talked about privately?
Yeah, so like listening to Vince, especially talking with Vince about the experiences he's had with his brother,
Mhm.
I think have colored my experience such that there is behavior I put like a hard limit on,
Mhm.
and I have additional language to describe it to other people. And I have like not just language, but I have like additional social leverage to describe it to other people. Because I can say now, and Ryan, this is a popular thing with Ryan Stone too, the relationship comparison. You say,
Mhm.
let's not be like this couple, or let's be like this couple.
Yeah.
Taking people you both know as kind of social reinforcement.
Right.
It doesn't just work on your girl. Turns out it works on other people.
Everything. Yeah.
If I'm talking to the uncle about like, look, we set these TT is treating our mother this way because we set these boundaries,
Mhm.
and we regard this behavior as unacceptable. Are you, pointing to the other family member, going to look at her, who is now crying, and tell her
Mhm.
that you want me to start treating her this way, or it's okay if I start treating her this way?
Mhm.
That we shouldn't, like, or it's okay for her to treat me this way?
Mhm.
Is this an acceptable boundary for either of us to cross with each other? And if not, is there some reason we should have an exception in the rest of our lives
Mhm.
for
Yeah.
other people treating us like that way. Man, that's a weakness. That's like a crack in the foundation. It's not going to turn out well. And it turned out to work on either side of things. It was weird seeing a family member actually like relent, stop, and consider like the weight of what we were saying.
Right.
For like, listen, like this is gonna, if we start treating each other this way, it's gonna go terribly. If she and her mom start treating each other this way, it's gonna go terribly. If I start treating her mom this way, it's gonna go terribly. This boundary has to be two-way, or else it doesn't work. Or else it's a drain on everything else that we're doing, because it represents an inability to be honest, to be secure and stuff like that. It's a danger to how we act in our everyday lives, or the boundaries that we want to set in our everyday lives. Sorry, I know there's a lot of traffic behind me.
It's not your fault.
But yeah, it was surreal. It was like I said, I think it was like an out of body experience. And during the conversation, I just had things like from you guys describing personal relationships that had gone poorly as a result of people crossing boundaries, and just thinking, I'm acting as if this is for the long haul. So so let's see how saying this, and this goes. Let's see how bringing up these experiences and really explaining why these boundaries exist actually helps the situation.
Cool.
Yeah.
It was weird. But I have you guys to thank for probably the success of it.
Indeed. No charge.
Well, that's
right,
kind of what the other dudes in your tribe's supposed to do. I mean, you kind of the hunters all watch out for each other.
Yeah, we got each other's back.
Yeah.
And speaking of boundaries, we're on a time boundary, as it were. So we're at 1 hour and 32 minutes. I'm going to turn this over to the chat as far as any questions you may have, and I'm going to give you 10 minutes to ask us anything. We did this a few times before, and it seemed to be successful. So have at it, chat, all 7 of you.
Use it or lose it.
That's right. You got 10 minutes till 1 hour. Let's see, 1 hour, 43. Yeah. Till 10:44. What the fuck is that?
Poster.
The what poster?
Real Genius, Val Kilmer.
Cool.
Yeah. 1984. So
now, do you frame all of those?
Yes, that is the ultimate goal. Not all of them are framed, but the vintage ones are taking priority, because I've got modern movie posters too. So I've got like the recent Planet of the Apes movies. I've got a couple of different posters from those different movies, and various comic book Marvel movies. I've got their posters as well. So they're the ones sent out from the studios, but the ones that get in the frames are the vintage ones. Those are the ones that get displayed, because those are the ones that matter. Because the house I was going to get, but unfortunately didn't, and now I'm waiting for the market to kind of situate itself. The entire downstairs was finished and had like a small movie studio, and then had another room that would have been great for a recording studio. So I could have used it for like voice stuff, and I could have also had my boys over to record music.
Oh, cool.
And but that bottom theater level, I was going to put up the vintage movie posters, and I was going to get some now showing, and
that makes total sense. That'd be cool.
Yeah. So that was the plan. So
cool. Oh, that sucks.
So we're just waiting to see. But I mean,
right
something
now,
else
will pop up.
Oh yeah.
James, you mind reading the super chat?
I don't mind in the slightest. For $2.29 from the goddamn bacon. Pizza Hut or Domino's asking for a friend.
Well, Pizza Hut is pretty much, if it's not dead, it's on its way out. But I prefer Pizza Hut over Domino's.
I'll take Domino's just because I have more Domino's near me. But it's really hit or miss.
If we're talking late 70s, early 80s, definitely Pizza Hut. Although I several times would pick up a Domino's pizza after I left my girlfriend's house and would head over to my parents and eat pizza in front of my little brothers.
There you go. Oh, Domino's is great for delivery. Now, Pizza Hut was the dining experience where you had the fake red leather booths and the arcade games up near the counter.
And the jukebox.
And the jukebox, yeah.
Yeah.
Pizza Hut here is still a thing, and they've got
really.
I like thin crust, and man, they got much better thin crispy crust than almost anybody.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
I gotta go, and they deliver. So
shit, do they?
Hut.
Okay,
down here, yeah.
Oh fuck, I'm moving to Alabama.
Hey, I got a spare room. Come on in. We'll eat crispy pizza every night.
There you go. Eat crispy pizza and do episodes on Masculine Geek.
I almost had a police car and ambulance called for me at a Pizza Hut once.
Really? What the fuck? What happened?
I was there. I'd been eating with my mom, and we were leaving, and I was riding home with her because I was probably in like junior high, maybe early high school. And I had to run in to do something. I think I was either giving a waitress my phone number or something. I can't remember what. But anyway, so she was pulling the car up a little bit. And when I saw her, I ran toward the car and then slammed into the front and went flying across the hood like I'd been hit by the car and landed on the ground.
Oh, shit.
And people inside saw it. And
they thought you got hit by a car.
And they thought I got hit by a car. And it was just me being an asshole to my mom because it was, it was... Yeah, because I was a teenage boy and my mom could be annoying at times, to put it nicely. And so
that's every mother.
Yeah. So.
Bacon. I like what Bacon is right about one thing. Way back in the day, before there were really a lot of arcades, pizza joints were the only place I think I can remember playing video games.
They would have anywhere between 3 to 4 video games,
and
a
lot of times
they would Pac-Man was the main ones.
A lot of times they would have the the sit down table head to head 2-player versions.
The Pac-Man one, yeah.
The Pac-Man one, they had a there was another one. I don't think it was Asteroids, but it was something else. Kind of like that.
Hemorrhoids.
Those were cool. Godfather's Pizza down here, that used to have those, and Shakey's. And we had Shakey's, we had Pasquale's.
What of them?
We still have Pasquale's here, and back in the 80s, I would walk a mile to Godfather's to get pizza, not only because I like the pizza, but they had the sit-down Star Wars Death Star game that you set in it, and it had all the sounds and Obi-Wan and R2 and everything else, and you had the wire graphics, and you would do the trench run on the Death Star.
Yes, the trench run. You'd have the yoke.
And you had the flight controllers, and that was worth the 1 mile.
When you hit whatever that certain point was, you'd hear Obi-Wan say, "Use the Force, Luke."
Use the Force, Luke. Yeah, they had that at the Stop It Movie. They had that at Ocean City in a 20. It was open 24 hours, 365 days a year, even on Christmas.
Donkey Kong
called Jilly's, and they had that Star Wars game, and Donkey Kong. Yeah,
Donkey Kong was the other table game I was thinking of. We had that.
Yeah, Mictobus is saying Centipede. Yep, Centipede, Donkey Kong, Pac-Man, Star Wars,
Galaxian.
By the time Centipede came along, we actually had arcades popping up all over the place, and I was playing that there. I don't remember playing that at our pizza places down here, but this is Alabama. We were, you guys were a year behind everybody.
All fucked up.
Yeah, we're all fucked up.
Still using carrier pigeon. TJ, did you play arcade games at places? Stop It Movie.
And where did you prefer, Domino's or Pizza Hut?
We did Pizza Hut, and it was because of the reading program that they had back in the 90s, where I don't fully remember it because it was 30-something years ago, but if you did some sort of reading program, you could get a free personal pan pizza. And what's funny is the pizza place where we went to, the Pizza Hut place is still there. I was just Googling it. It's still there, but but then there was Round Tables, and then there was Godfathers. When you're a kid, you really don't care. What was crazy is when I was a kid, there was this place called Pizza and Pipes, which had a silent film organ with the pipes playing, was very loud. They played just whatever they wanted to play. Then you had the arcades, and then you had the pizza and the root beer. And it was a place for just kids to be loud because it was a loud place, as opposed to now where, they expect everybody to be quiet or not make noise or whatever it was. Like kids, we could just, and I know because we have the videos. It wasn't just nostalgia or parents just saying, "Oh, it used to be this way back in the day." No, we have the footage, we have the documentary evidence, and it was where we could go scream, yell, shout, and nobody could hear you because the organs would drown you out. So it was kind of cool that way. But if I was gonna pick a pizza I liked, I like Pizza Hut pizza better. But though Domino's back in like 2010, 2011, they made massive changes to the quality of their pizza.
Yes, they did.
That was Domino's was one of those companies that had the, I don't know who was in charge, made the decisions or whatever, but they were smart enough to be like, we have to change. We either change or we die. And they made the changes. And, like Round Tables and Godfather are doing as well as the others. So they don't do delivery. I guess that's probably where they suffered. But like Domino's was predominantly a takeout place because so they knew they had to compete against these other places. So
James, you want to read this latest question?
Yep, it's from Rent D. All right. Mother has no boundaries, so I cut her off, and now she's trying to get closer as my career takes off. Any advice or experience?
Continue to cut her off.
Yeah?
You just told us what changed your career. What's your career really? Well, water it down to the common denominator is money. And you're gaining confidence and showing competence as a man. So continue to do that and continue to cut her off.
I mean, is she trying to get back in touch with you for money? Is she trying to get back in touch with you because now she, quote unquote, is proud of you? What's the reason?
That's the one I was going to bring up is, oh, well, now you're acting in a way that I can show you off to my friends. And it looks bad on her. Well, here's the thing. It looks bad on her if you are a successful person and she's not in contact with you. Because then it looks like your success is a product of your own actions and explicitly when free from her influence. That reflects poorly from the social perspective.
Yeah,
especially among the pecking hen group.
Yeah, James is correct. And in any case, stick to your boundaries that you set for yourself. That is the way to go. I mean, you can revisit that somewhere down the line.
Well, I think that's a good general rule. I also think though the rules for family is a little bit different than rules for friends, depending on one thing, and if it's a relative and a close relative, and this is all based on the amount of damage that was done and what the experience in the past has been. So this doesn't work for everybody, but it also shouldn't be dismissed out of hand either. And that's just, are they willing to do the work? If they're willing to do the work and they'll pay the price and they're willing to put 5 times the amount of effort into it that you are, and they're not causing new problems, then yeah, okay. That happens sometimes, but most of the time it doesn't.
Like, listen, it's really satisfying to hear contrition. A lot of people find that really healing, and a lot of people find that like I just got back into contact with a buddy I went to college with. Well, the few friends I made at RCBC found out that he also escaped from his family at basically almost the exact same time. COVID similarly fucked up his plans, and let me tell you, and a year of lockdown was apparently the same experience for him as it was for me, to where this got even more completely intolerable. But once he moved out, all of a sudden, parents were a lot sweeter. Parents were a lot kinder, a lot nicer, a lot more willing to show contrition and apologize because they no longer had housing over his head. Because he's shown a willingness to
I'm not gonna
disengage,
throw
to
this out here.
disembark.
If people have to be forced to behave decently on some basic level, there's no relationship. If
Exactly.
you can be honest with someone on a basic decent level, you don't have a relationship. If you can't just, and I'm not saying like you send me money and I'll tell you. But anyways, I'm gonna say like, no, if you gotta like, let me give an example. Like, you set boundaries with someone to say, like, let's say you have a kid. I don't have any kids, so it's a hypothetical. But let's say you have a kid, and you have to set boundaries with someone because they might hit your kid if you don't set boundaries. You don't have a relationship. You just don't. Like, I'm not gonna hang out or spend time or associate with someone who might hit my child if I set certain boundaries in a proactive sense. That's kind of the point I'm saying. Like, if people's behavior on a basic level is circumstantial, you don't want to. You can have a relationship with them. You're going to have to make all the compromises. It's going to make you miserable, and you're not going to be happy. You're not going to be the person you ever want to be, and they're not going to make any compromises for you, anyways. Thank you for coming to my.
A lot of that tracks, but I'll tell you what. In personal relationships, there are not compromises, but like circumstances that I put myself in that do make the relationship better. My relationship is better when I'm 170 pounds as opposed to 180 pounds. It's just how it is. But I know that's not what you're referring to. It's the circumstances of when you're on more equal footing that this person decides that they're going to give you like a really basic sense of human decency and contrition and kindness.
Rowell has a good saying, and it refers to women, and I think it applies to a lot of relationships, is if you want to know them, see how they treat people who can do nothing for them. And also see how people treat people who are incapable of setting healthy boundaries with them, whether it's physical, mental, emotional, whatever. Like, they are not going to set the boundaries for them. They have to be self-restrained. And if their behavior during that time is, I'm not capable of setting those boundaries, and we're not talking like on a massive level, we're talking like the most basic, fundamental human level, they can't do that. They have to have someone proactively coerce them to do that, or have some sort of barrier set. There's just no relationship, and it's not easy to say that, but like for a lot of people, that's what they got to deal with. And for people who don't have, there's a lot of people I've met who have never had to do that with anybody, so they don't understand what that means. For them, it's just like, if somebody's bothering you, you just tell them, dude, this bothers me, and then it's just over. They just stop doing it, right?
Well, you have to, that's why I say this all depends on, each circumstance is somewhat unique because it depends on the history, it depends on the behaviors, it depends on, the individuals, and, whether each of them actually wants to do that or not. And if they don't want to, if either of them doesn't want to, then it doesn't fucking matter at all. If they do want to, because I've seen this happen, and I've coached people on this, like, girlfriends and whatnot that were estranged from their parents and whatever. Yeah, I know you're not supposed to date anybody that, doesn't have a good relationship with their parents. Try that for a while and see how that goes. But it comes back to hire slow, fire fast. Everybody gets into serious relationships too quickly. Everybody does it. There are very few people that are willing to say, all right, I'll see you once a week for a year, and then we'll see how it goes. Because
marry slow.
Most of the time, the other person is, if you're willing to do that, most of the time they're not willing to do that. Now, what ends up happening is you do that for 3 or 4 or 6 months, and then all of a sudden, if things are going well enough, however long it is, you end up stepping up the frequency. But if you're trying to repair a relationship, you have to be like, here are the conditions, or the boundaries, however you want to put it. And if you violate any of these, then, just fucking forget it. And most people do not have the motivation on both sides to put in the work necessary to repair something like that. And because what most people want is they want some sort of blanket forgiveness, let's start over, like it never happened and whatever. And that just can't happen that way. It's
Mhm.
always gonna be a big fucking scar followed by maybe a few years of, an awkward, not great relationship, but better than nothing for some people. But if both people aren't willing to put the work in there, if the patience isn't there, if the respect for the conditions isn't there, and if the motivation on the part of like the estranged one is anything other than regret for the past and just wanting to have, whatever we can have going forward, then it's not going to work. Because if they're coming back, like you said, if they're coming back because they want you to be their little trophy they can brag about, or if they want money from you or want to benefit from your success now or something like that, then yeah, that just means, like you said, they don't really want a relationship. They just want to, they just want to continue their bad behavior and have you rubber stamp it, and you can't do that. Absolutely.
I'm gonna step in because Rob is not here, so I have to say this for him. I have to ask this for him. What do you want?
Yeah, that's exactly what I was thinking.
Yep.
I am perfectly content. Like, I want money, and I would be content if my relationship with my mother closed out on a slightly happier note, right? I think I want that. And I don't have to do much work in order to have that, apparently. I have to do almost no work, apparently, to have that. So I'll take it. Do you want to get paraded around as a trophy by somebody who suddenly starts acting better?
Exactly.
And kind of shows you that they could have acted better this entire time, but chose not to? Is that going to be a happy experience for you? And do you want that? You might want that. Is the thing. Stranger things have happened. Like, again, I got into a relationship. We're coming up on a year. Stranger things have happened. Where you figure out, oh shoot, maybe when I'm faced with this with the decision, maybe I do want something else. But you got to ask yourself, what do you want? I saw Chesty jumped in here too.
I mean, imagine that scenario that Chesty, his scenario that he has pointed out before. Imagine somebody who didn't give a shit about you and then came back and not simply wanted to have a relationship with you, but wanted your kidney or your liver or something. Fuck that shit. I mean, I would probably do that for one of my children.
She's looking for parts, man.
And that's it. I would not do that for parents. I wouldn't do that for friends. I wouldn't do that for anybody except possibly my kid.
I just have to say, holy shit. Holy shit. Oh, man.
That's fucked up to the nth degree. All right. I'm going to, speaking of boundaries, we got to bring this therapy session to a close.
Jesus, thank God.
All right. It's almost 2 hours. I got to shut this down. So let's do some housekeeping. Good questions, everyone. Thank you for that. Robert, where can everyone find you?
Robert Kuzlin, Instagram, Twitter, the usual places here on YouTube, and with the Masculine Geek.
There you go. TJ.
With your hot sister. TJMartinell.com.
Hot sister. if I had one, maybe.
Who's hot sister? That's right.
Right. James, where can everyone find you?
You can find me skinny dipping in the Texas wilderness, but alternatively, you can find me at Ash Creativity on Twitter.
And Starbucks, apparently. And last, and not least.
Certainly
not least. Nick, where can everyone find you? It's you bastard.
You're going to find me looking for the sequel to Tesla Malone. Where the fuck is that?
Dude, it's done. It's finished. It's complete.
It's finished.
You're finished. It's complete. I mean, you even edited the motherfucker. So,
a year and a half ago, dude.
I swear to fucking Christ, I still have, because StreamYard saves all of your recording outline, as it were, a list of all your recordings. I reached out to him and we had our first meeting about the book cover a year ago this month.
Dude, whenever you guys get that done, I don't know if you're planning to do this anyway, but if the colorized version looks as good as that cover style I think you're going for, you should get him. You should sell those as like a 11 by 14 or some kind of shit, because that was just fucking fantastic,
wasn't it? And that was just like a charcoal draft.
Yeah, it was a sketch. It was a sketch, and
it was fucking brilliant.
That one was and I think colorized properly, it would be beautiful. But anyway,
it's going to be good. And Tesla Malone's probably going to come out. I don't even fucking know. Laserdisc will probably come out before Tesla Malone.
Here's how long it's going to be. Pulse Chain is going to launch before Tesla Malone comes out.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah, basically. So, what'll happen is there'll be a slew of books coming out like within 6 months of each other, which I'm fine with. I'm in no hurry, and I know he does good work, and he just had another kid. He's not doing as much art as he would like, so I do take that into account, and he's a friend. So, but he has been paid. He's been paid for a year now, so he needs to get on the horn.
Well, I wanted to come out because I practically ghostwrote the thing, so it's really my novel, not Vince's. But
you didn't ghostwrite shit, motherfucker.
as heavy as an edit as that was, it was practically ghostwriting. No, I'm just kidding. That was a pretty easy skim, really, to be honest. But anyway, you can't find me. I'm in an undisclosed location, but you can.
In your mom's house.
You can. My mom's basement. You can go to store.punchriot.com and get merchandise, and then the new Punch Riot site should be live in about 2 or 3 weeks. So.
All right. Thank you. Make sure you leave a review.
Will do.
That's the first one. Thank you. I appreciate that, Robert.
Yeah.
And let me know what you think.
I this one I've had for a little while as well. I haven't had a chance to read it, so
that's a good. That TJ's book is very good. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
doing what I can to support my tribe.
I will pat myself on the back for inspiring TJ to write shorter books.
Yes, I totally give Vince credit. I read his Tesla Malone book, and I'm like, you know what? I need to write like this dude did.
The unambiguous value of being brief.
Exactly. It's the novella form of being brief. Correct. So, and last and not least is myself, Masculine Geek.life. I will be having the new revamped site launching this weekend. Some added functionality. It's not going to cost as much. Yeah, functionality, motherfucker.
What's not going to cost as much?
Membership.
Oh.
And it's also not going. Well, it depends on the people that came in early versus the people that came in late. It's not going to cost as much for the people that came in later. Gotcha. And it's not going to cost as much per year for myself because it's a sort of a one-stop shop that has decent scalability. So that will be released live upon the public this weekend, I'm thinking. So everyone in the chat, thank you for joining us. As always, it's a pleasure to talk to you and hear from you and see you virtually. TJ, if you would be so kind as to take us out.
All right, guys. Keep the lead shooting down range. Keep the line flowing. Don't take any wooden nickels.
Correct.
How about wheat pennies?
Or wheat pennies.
You can take all the wheat pennies you can. Don't drink all the rum. And $20 is not $20.
That's right. Not in this country.
I think I found a wooden nickel.
That's right, bitch. And your mom's
don't take it, James. Leave it there.
Sounds like a gay science fiction porno.
Your favorite.
That's why I know.
Woo!